Hello, I'm Crickets, and welcome back to I Have a Story. As I share my life and the experiences that I've had, and the knowledge and the views that it has all given me today, this was another big incident that happened in my life that I'm sure most people will never actually experience, and hopefully nobody will ever have to experience again. And that was when our school, well, it was spray painted and what I'll say is attacked by the KKK. Now, this happened back in 1991. And in 1991, we did not have the internet and we did not have social media to share knowledge and learn from. We had the news, and if you weren't home at 5 or at 6, you missed the news. And then you got what back in the day, bring back another old school word saying reruns. Um, you got possibly you get to see the reruns of the news at 10 and 11 at night. So to say it was the KKK or some white supremacy group that did this, I don't honestly know. Back then, it was just the word in the school was it was the KKK, and the school on your screen right here is not the high school. This is DeVilbiss High School. And the reason DeVilbiss High School is important to the story is because in 1991, the spring of 1991, they closed DeVilbiss High School. Now, DeVilbiss High School was a majority black school. This also is part of what started me on having poor views of a union. Is back then what they claimed was they had to close this school because it needed a new roof. And the claims were that they had to use union labor and they couldn't afford union labor. And they couldn't afford to put a new roof on the school. So instead they closed it and then dispersed all the students into the rest of the school district, depending on where you lived, depending on which school you went to from there. Now, this school, when I was a kid, I lived closer to DeVilbiss than I did to the high school that I attended, which was Start High School. On the weekends, I could hear the PA systems start blaring, and I knew that the football games were happening. Back then, this was the only high school, I believe the only high school when I was a kid, it was the only one I was aware of anyway, that had a football stadium. And all the football games for high school were played at this high school. And from my house, I could hear the PAs start up, and yep, football games are starting. I'm going up and watching the football games. I remember as a student, they never charged me. They just let me in. They never charged me to get in. So I spent a lot of time at this school. But they closed the school down and sent all the students to different schools, which I'm sure had a great part to do with what actually took place and happened here. This here was Start High School. This building is no longer there. It's a new school. They tore this down and actually tore out the forest behind it. There was a wooded area behind this, and when they did that, I lived on the same road, just down the road from this high school when they tore this high school down and built the new one. In the middle of the city, we lived on 5 acres and we had woods in our backyard, and the deer from behind the high school, when they tore the woods down, the deer actually moved into our backyard, and we got to enjoy having deer in our little 5-acre piece of paradise in the middle of the city, really. So I'm not sure exactly what all started this, and to say it was the KKK or a white supremacy group, after looking what took place in the city of Toledo, because I believe this is a big part of what started the DEI initiative in Toledo, was it actually a setup? I don't know. I mean, looking back today, with today's views and what we've seen take place here in recent history, and we keep learning more and more, and there's so much being said about past history where things were not presented to us properly. Our country's been full of lies and delusion for how long now? For long before modern AI made it even worse, or we can fake everything now. I don't know what to believe in anything in this world anymore. But we pull up to school one day, and this was my freshman year. I started high school in the fall of '91. My ex-wife's brother was the one who drove all of us to school, and he was the only one with a license and with a car, and we all pull up in his little Subaru, and there's school officials outside telling us to go home. School's closed. Get out of here. You guys need to go now. We look around, and there was spray paint everywhere of racism, and it wasn't even just the school. Across the street from the school was, I don't know if it's still there today, a Red Wings shoe store. And the side of the building of the Red Wings shoe store was just a brick wall facing the parking lot. And they even spray painted that. And these people they were artistically inclined. They did not draw stick figures. It was quite graphic. One of the things I remembered was the gap in between these two sections of building. They got up on top of this section here, and the side wall to this part of the building that faces these windows up here, they painted a big mural of a hanging. And when you walk down this hallway, you could look out the window and look down and see just a giant side of a billboard of racism. And they graffitied everything. It was everywhere. And when we pulled up, nope, you kids get out of here. No white kids in school today. Well, my friend and I, we were in with the black people. We knew we didn't have anything to fear with them. My friend Alex Tuttle and I, we were the only two to get out of the car that day and venture into the school. And nobody gave us any trouble. Nobody hated on us. It's such a big difference in the time back then than what we have today. Today that would happen, how many white kids would just get out and go, you know what, I feel safe, I'm going to go in here. And how many white kids would not be touched by the black community when something like that took place? Part of the reason, Alex grew up by DeVilbiss, and his sister went to DeVilbiss, and she was older than us, and she was already in with the black community, and she was such a cool girl. She was like a hippie flower child. She was a sweetheart. So we already had some ins with the black community there, and we hung out with black students, and I earned some of my respect because I've had to be tough my whole life and the things that I've experienced. One day, I walk up to school. Sometimes my ex-wife's brother would drive us. Sometimes we'd ride our skateboards. And I pull up on my skateboard one day, and I talked a previous video about a friend of ours whose mom was taken off the street, and his birth was the prodigy of what happened there. Well, he was sitting out front talking to a kid named Jake Buchanan, and I was not friends with Jake. Jake, I don't know what he turned out to be like as an adult, but as a kid, he was a punk, and I didn't like him, and I didn't spend any time with him. But he was with one of my friends, and I went up to talk to one of my friends, and Jake looked at me, and he pointed out the group of the biggest, baddest looking black students on the school property standing outside talking. And he said, "You better hide. Those guys want to beat you up." Why do they want to beat me up? I don't know. I just heard them talking, and they were talking about they want to beat you up. I wasn't going to hide from them. I just walked straight over to them, a group of big black boys, and they were much bigger than me. I walked up to them and said, "Hey, I heard you guys want to fight me. You guys want to fight me?" And they looked at me and said, "We don't even know who you are, but if you want a whooping, we'll give it to you." I said, No, I'm not here to pick a fight. I was just told that you guys wanted to beat me up, and I'm not going to run and hide from you. If we've got a problem, let's talk about it. What's going on here? He looked at me, the biggest one of the group. He stepped right up to me, and he looked at me and goes, "You got some balls for a white boy. We got your back. Who said this about you?" And I pointed out the kid, and all of them took off running after him. I don't think they ever caught him because I never saw him with a black eye, but I don't know what happened from there. I earned my respect with a lot of people. And at this school, I had to be tough, but at the same time, I couldn't do the stuff I did at the high school that I talked about where I stood up for the little people. Because at this school, this was a school where you pull up in the parking lot and people are sitting in the parking lot packing guns and knives, and it became a very rough school. After they reopened the school and got all the graffiti off of everything, when we returned, there was metal detectors at the doors. You had to go through a metal detector in order to get into the school. So what does class clown crickets do? I mean, Alex and I, we weren't even class clowns. We were school clowns. We'd walk up to anybody and just make jokes and make people laugh. I started carrying a spoon in my pocket, and when I'd set off the metal detectors, I'd pull my spoon out. I'm going to spoon you. Stupid kids we were. But it really had the opposite effect. People thought it was going to create a lot of hatred in our city, but it had the complete opposite effect. Before that incident happened, I heard racist comments being said around me by the white community, but it wasn't we hate black people or black people need to harm black people. It was a lack of trust in black people, and there were reasons for that. One, look at what is coming out today, and look at what all our government has done in the past history to keep division between us. And now the claims, hearing claims today about how marijuana was illegal because the black community and the Mexicans coming into the United States were bringing it, and we wanted to shame those people, and you're going to turn into a crazy lunatic like those people, and it created a lot of darkness between white and black communities. But there were also reasons, and I plan on making another video to share more about that, what did take place in our neighborhoods from the black communities. But after that happened, nobody around me, I didn't hear anybody saying any more racist comments. And I really believe that there's a possibility that's what turned Toledo DEI, because Toledo went DEI in the 90s. They were paying for public announcements on our news, on the radio. Look at us, we're DEI, we're all inclusive. And I've talked about how in the 90s, after I graduated high school, I tried to become a police officer. I was told directly to my face, your resume goes straight in the garbage. You're a white male. We cannot hire you. I went to the fire department, and I was told the same thing. I wanted a noble job, working for my community. I wanted a job where I was out in the world working on my feet, not sitting behind a desk. But I was denied those rights, so racism just really flipped after that. It just became racist against the white male, and that's when it all started in Toledo. To say it just started in recent years, this was going on over 30 years ago. It's really been damning to my life. But, I can't believe that looking at today, and we think progression today is so much better. If that incident would have taken place today, how do you think students would be handling things? How do you think our communities would be handling things? Today there seems to be a lot more hatred and anger than there was back 30 years ago. So how is progression better? And when we went back to school, there were no issues, there were no problems. And the black community didn't come in, start hating the white community and blaming the white community for what somebody else did. People actually came together, and it had the opposite effect of what I assume people who would commit a crime like that would want. They would want more evil and hatred, but that's not what happened. It actually brought everybody together, including turning our city racist against the white people. The white man. I shouldn't even say white people. If I was a white woman, I could have become a police officer. I could have become a firefighter. But since I was a white man, I was denied. I don't know, again, another delusion in our country. You can be whatever you want to be. Except for, that's not true. Well, here's another experience that I had as a kid that I'd like to share with you that I hope nobody ever has to experience again. And the views coming from me and what I saw around me. I've experienced a lot in life and seen a lot in life, and well, this was another incident.